flash photography during the performance, and there's also no exiting the room. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Cameron Ream, and I'm from Amazing Grace Christian Academy, and I'll be performing for you The Return of the Square, delivered by Charles Brower before the Illinois State Chamber of Commerce, Chicago, Illinois, October 4th, 1962. Back in our grandparents' day, the word square was one of the finest words in the English language. You gave a man a square deal if you were honest. You gave him a square meal if he was hungry. You stood foursquare for the right, as you saw it. When you were out of debt, you were square with the world, and could look your fellow man square in the eye. But then a lot of strange characters got a hold of this honest, wholesome word, and bent it all out of shape. Now everyone knows what a square is. He is the man who never learned to get away with it. A Joe who volunteers when he doesn't have to. A guy who gets his kicks out of trying to do something better than anyone else can. A guy who gets so caught up in his work that he has to be reminded to go home. A slob who still gets all choked up when the band plays America the Beautiful. A square, and strictly from Squaresville. His tribe isn't thriving too well in the current climate. He doesn't fit neatly into the current group of angle players, corner cutters, sharpshooters, and goof-offs. He is burdened down with old-fashioned ideas of honesty, loyalty, courage, and thrift, and he may already be well on his way to extinction. He and all the rest of us are living in quite a different country today from the one that we were taught to love. For example, we have been gullible patrons of the idea that our ancient disciplines should be abandoned as too stark for the poor feeble souls that we are. Our colleges are loaded with youngsters who are hardly prepared for high school, who could not do simple arithmetic or spell simple words. The idea that the dull discipline of the 3 R's was too disturbing for poor little Johnny's ego. We ought to know by now that there is no learning without discipline. But today, non-books are being thrown together by non-writers who never bothered to learn how to write. Our museums are exhibiting paintings from people who never learned to paint. It used to be a sort of a joke that you could not tell which was the top and which was the bottom. But recently, a museum did hang a bit of modern art upside down. It was days before the error was discovered, and I still do not know how they knew. We refer to our humor as sick, sick, sick. And it is. Mother used to get cards on Mother's Day, expressing some fact that she was loved and wanted. Now she is lucky if she gets a card that shows Whistler's mother, flat on her back, and a caption that reads, "You're not the only one who's off her rocker." This comment, I suppose, will mark me as a square. But if it does, I will be in some pretty good company. For this country was discovered, put together, fought for, and saved by squares. It is easy to prove that almost all of our national heroes were squares, simply by thinking what they might have said had they not been squares. Nathan Hale. Me? Spy on those British? Are you trying to be funny? Do you know what they do to the spies they catch? I'll give you a newsflash, chum. They hang them. Patrick Henry. Sure, I'm for liberty, but we've got to be a little realistic. If we start pushing those British around, someone's going to get hurt. Paul Revere. What do you mean me? Right through every Middlesex village in town. And in the middle of the night yet. Why pick on me? Am I the only man in Boston with a horse? It is perhaps significant that what such men did actually say has been quietly sneaked out of our school books. This Week magazine did a survey on school history books issued before 1920 compared with those issued since. Nathan Hale said, "I only regret that I have but one life to give from my country, in all of the old texts and in only one of the new." Patrick Henry said, "Give me liberty or give me death," in 12 of the 14 earlier texts and in only 3 of the 45 recent ones. But John Paul Jones set the record. He said, "I have not yet begun to fight," in 9 of the old books and in none of the new. Perhaps these aggressive and nationalistic statements were square, but there are lessons to be learned from all of them, and school Heroes are for learning. Our nation has a whole new set of heroes, named Glenn and Grissom and Shepherd, named Carpenter, Shira, Cooper. The towns they come from have nice small names: Boulder, East Corby, New Concord, Mitchell, Cradell, Shawnee. These lads apparently lived too far from the big city and grew up to be squares. For who but a square would volunteer his life for his country's good? They're not even ashamed of their feelings. John Glenn says he gets a funny feeling down inside when he sees a flag go by. Imagine that! He's proud of his small town, proud of his small college, proud that he belonged to the YMCA. I hope that some of him rubs off on the next generation. For the forces of conformity are still strong. Too many of us are still sitting it out instead of sweating it out. Too many of us haven't got the guts to stand up straight and dare to be square.